Henry, hi.
Hi, Ali.
How are you? Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you again.
Been a long time. When was it? Do you remember? I forgot when it was. It was 2019 or 18 we met each other?
I think it was 2019. It was 2019, so it's been a few years now.
Yeah. Unlike most of my friends that I met in different countries, I met you in Iran, which is very interesting.
Yes, yes. It was good time because I learned a lot from you and also from your friends that I met there. Um, yeah, you know, it's been an interesting trip to Iran and learn from you and your friends about the culture and things like that. So yes, it was an enjoyable time.
When I met you, you were really into Persian literature, the language and culture, and it was really fascinating. So, w- how did you become interested in Iranian culture, and what happened that you decided to travel to Iran?
Okay, so in the beginning, my first trip was in 2017 in the springtime, and I was with three other people. So the four of us, we were traveling in Iran, and that was our first time in Iran. And we had such an enjoyable time meeting local Iranians. And you guys were all very, very generous, very friendly. And the food was incredible. Um, and I enjoyed the scenery a lot because we traveled by bus. And some of our friends also took us to interesting places um, in Shiraz, in Yazd, and Isfahan. So yeah, it was an incredible time. In Tehran, we were able to use the metro. So it was also great to experience that in Tehran. Yeah.
It, I just remember that you cook a lot of Persian food and you keep sending all these pictures to me. And I was like, I've never eaten many of these foods. Iranian foods that I've never tried.
Yeah. It was interesting because in 2019, right? Um, we had an international lockdown. So I missed those places that I've traveled to. And then I started just researching for recipes of the food that I remembered. And then I started cooking. And I found this recipes from the north of Iran. And I was able to recreate some of the food that I had in Iran. So it was really, really nice. I looked for recipes that I can find the ingredients in our local supermarket. Um, so then I just started learning how to cook Iranian food. So that was the beginning. Um, the photograph that I sent you, those were recipes from, I believe, from Rasht, from the northern Iran, and also from, I think the one of the bloggers that I followed was from Gilan. So yeah, maybe you know, I've never had some of the food that I cooked in while I was in Iran, but um, I enjoyed making them and trying out new recipes.
Yet, did you make? I think you were trying to learn the Persian language also, and you were sending me a lot of proverbs and cute words and trying to speak. Farsi to me. And how is your Farsi right now?
Well, I need to go back and, you know, relearn a lot of the phrases that I've learned. Um, at the time in 2017 and 18, I was able to practice with a few of my Iranian friends there because we communicated through WhatsApp, and you know they would teach me about Taruf, and I asked them simple questions like, how have you been? How's work? Um, have you had your breakfast yet? Or how was your coffee? And things like that. And they helped me translating it to into Farsi. So I was able to, memorize them, and then I practice it on you. um, but yeah, at the same time, I also try to learn the alphabets. So when I have some difficulties in remembering the alphabets, then I just use um, the Latin alphabets when texting to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much easier, I think, for the writing. We call it Finglish. It's like Farsi and English. It's easier to for you, but I think you made it to learn and use the Persian alphabet.
Mm. Yeah. I try to immerse myself in learning the new language. So hopefully next time if I visit you in your home country, then I can practice more.
Yeah, I would love to see you and host you again in Iran
Yes,
soon.
yes. Yeah.
So, what are the most interesting things about Iranian culture, the language, and even the landscape?
hmm So, you know, I studied architecture in the US for my undergrad and master's degree. And what fascinated me with Iran was because everything in this region is all new to me. So, um, having been to a new place and try to understand the culture and how you guys think about um, your country, the food. I think a lot of these aspects are actually an integrated whole. So for me, when people ask or my friends ask me, what do I like about Iran? It's difficult to say, oh, the language or the food or the architecture or the landscape, because everything is a whole, as a system. And I was able to visit a few historical monuments from the Qajar period or even earlier, like Persepolis. So, even Farsi as a language, it also evolved through time.
Exactly.
And I think as the culture and the language evolve, so the architecture, you know. So in that sense, I think what's good for me was to experience different time periods while I was traveling in Iran to learn a lot. And I think I can spend a lot of time there learning about all of these things. So yeah, food and architecture, everything. I think it's each culture has have their own sort of like uniqueness, and I think that's the best thing about traveling to new places.
Exactly. For me, it's the same. I remember when I traveled to Indonesia for the first time, I explored Jakarta for a little while. Then I moved to Bali. I mean, it's a very typical touristic trip. I wish I, I wish I had this experience back then, not to just be a tourist and explore the culture and architecture, food better, travel to different cities. Because right now I'm not traveling anymore. I'm living in each country to understand the culture. Uh, For me, even staying in maybe 3 or 4 months is a kind of living. Especially right now, I'm using home exchange. So I stay in local houses, talk to local people as you did. We used to use couch surfing and we met each other there. And now I'm using home exchange. So I literally swap my home with local people, and I talk to them. I use their home. So in this way, I learn the culture better. I spend more time. Like my trips are not 1 or 2 weeks; it's longer because I want to explore different part of the country, talk to people, find friends, do different things. Um, but at the same time, even though that I was traveling to Indonesia, your country, as a tourist, but the architecture was fascinating. I remember I was taking photos from all the houses because, you, you know, there is nothing in common with Persian architecture and Indonesian architecture. Even these roofs that they had like a curve to the top. It has a lot, I think, with other East Asian countries like China and Japan, but I think it has its own characteristics.
Yes, that is true. So if you, I mean, Indonesia has so many islands, right? We have about 17,000 islands, more than 17,000 islands. So
Yeah, fascinating.
yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of effort to travel to a lot of these islands. However, if you go to visit some of the major islands, then you have the infrastructure somewhat better, especially in the central and the west. The east is still developing at the moment. Um, However, as the development continues and also more and more touristic places open up, I think it will be easier for people to travel to those areas. Especially if you're working online, I think it's more manageable for you to stay in a more developed places.
So, y- have you traveled in Iran more than Indonesia?
Mm, I think I traveled here more because I, I think I probably have visited about maybe 10 cities in Iran. Um, from my 3 times visiting the country because I'm working, so I cannot take too much of a time off. And in Indonesia, I can have a more flexible uh, schedule. So yeah, in terms of places, I think I've traveled more here locally compared to Iran.
Yeah, I think I didn't travel much in Iran. I traveled to north and Isfahan and a lot of places in Isfahan, but I think most of my travels were in desert. So I explored all Iranian deserts for maybe 3 4 years. So I spent a lot of time. Um, I was going every week to different deserts because I fell in love with Iranian deserts and the culture, local houses and people, and the quietness of desert was was amazing for me. And after that, I left the country. So I didn't have the chance to explore many cities, but I would love to do it once I go back to Iran. So right now I'm in Europe, so I take my time to explore Europe as much as I can. Even though I travel to many places in East Asia and Middle East, but I think right now in this age, I want to explore the world differently, much deeper, and take my time. For example, I traveled because I live in Turkey and Portugal, and I move between Turkey and Portugal almost every 6 months. And in between, I go to Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, and I try to explore other European countries like Italy and France and Spain. So Portugal is the most west part of Europe, and Turkey is the most east part of Europe. So I'm trying to explore as much as I can. But every time I look at the whole map and what I've explored, I think I haven't explored even one third of Turkey or one third of Portugal. Even I visited some of the places many times again and again, and every time I visit that place, I learned something new and I explored something new from the culture and even nature. So it's a lifetime project exploring this big world. For me, just visiting a country is not just traveling to the country and check, it's nothing. So you have to spend a lot of time in one country to see different cities because each city has its own charm and vibe and culture. For me, visiting one capital city or some cities as a tourist is not appealing anymore.
That's true. I feel the same because that's why you know, I'm interested in learning languages, even though it's like a conversational, simple sentences. As long as I could interact with locals, um, we create a certain kind of bond with them. So um, it makes the travel more enjoyable in that sense. And also, my experience with the desert in Iran was when I met a backpacker. He's a photographer from Germany, and he traveled by himself at the time. Um, we met in, I believe we met in Isfahan. Oh no, we met in Kashan, and I was staying at a very nice um, historical mansion that they turned into a boutique hotel. So I happened to get the last room in this establishment, and during breakfast, I met this backpacker. So he traveled in so many cities in Iran, and sometimes his girlfriend would come from Germany to join him at certain places. But at the time in Kashan, he was by himself, and then our table was next to each other when we were having breakfast. So we started talking, and he showed me his photos from his travel in Iran. And he said, "Since you're in Kashan, why don't you visit the desert?" I said, "Well, which one would you recommend?" And so he introduced me to a nice local tour guide who arranged trips to Varzane.
Yeah,
So it was
it's a
like,
fascinating place.
yeah. And I thought, okay, let me see. Um, I contacted the local guide and he said, I told him that I'm interested in spending a night in Varzana, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm having a group of Polish tourists, and if you travel by yourself, then you can join them." And so I just joined them. You know, um, luckily it was a very clear night, um, full moon, so the experience in Varzane was really really cool.
Most significant part of exploring desert is camping, watching the stars, and having the quietness of desert. it's not comparable with any other experience I've ever had in this life, because the stars are different. It's like you're literally seeing them from a short distance. You can experience a quietness that calms your nervous system in a way that you that can be very addictive, like at least for me. Like, I kept missing desert. Like every week I was traveling to one place, and when I was in the city I was like thinking about going back to the desert back and forth. Like I was waiting for the weekend to go back to the desert again. I was looking for a reason to go back, and I was I think right now when I look back, I feel I was looking for that quietness. I was looking for that tranquility in the desert. So, and right now, after many years being out of the country, being in Europe, there is no desert here. And many people don't understand it because I I love forests, I love beaches, and I love any kind of nature, mountains. But still, desert did something to me that I cannot forget.
Yeah, yeah. It's I think my first experience in Verzaning was the first time I experienced such a connection to nature. Again, like you said, the quietness, the expansive horizons. During sunset, the tour guide took us to a spot where we did the sand surfing,
Wow.
right? So
Yeah, I did that
that was
too.
also that was a really nice experience.
Yeah. Actually, sand surfing has its own equipment, but because I was snowboarding, I tried to do sand surfing with my snowboard. So just imagine I took my snowboard to a desert in a very big sand hill. I tried to snowboard there, which was both difficult and challenging. For me, there is a lot in common between desert and snow. So I think I was moving between snow mountains and desert. Of course, for many people, it's like, what is it in common? They're the exact opposite. But for me, that 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 clear horizon, the smoothness of the surface, like sand or snow, all the mountains are covered with sand. In the mountain, it covered with the snow, and being there in quietness has a lot in common. And I love that. I love winters in Iran, and I recommend people who want to explore this country to go in winter time near Nowruz to experience desert, snow mountains, and Nowruz culture. And even if you want to go to big cities like Shiraz, Isfahan, and Tehran, Nowruz is the best time because it's not very crowded. You can experience a much less crowded city, and the vibe of Nowruz is amazing. Have you ex- have you been to the country during Nowruz?
That was my initial plan until we had the international lockdown. So I may have to, yeah, reschedule that from a different on a different year.
Okay, next time. But you are familiar with the Persian New Year Nowruz, right?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, my friends educated me in that regard. So they send me photos. I wish them also, the greetings on Nowruz. Uh, yeah, it's been really really cool learning the cultures. And my friends and I, we grow closer, and we still texting each other, sending photos to each other. So it's good.
Yeah, and I think you became very interested in Farsi literature, especially poetries and poets, Persian poets. Can you explain it more to me, like how you feel when you're reading Persian poems?
Yes. So I've known English translations of the Sufi masters. When I was studying in the States, I would find, the quotations, only one sentence or two sentences at the most, mostly from Rumi, Molana, as you call him. Um, yeah, and so I only been exposed to the translations until my first my first time I believe in Tehran. There's a place called Ferdowsi Square, right, in Tehran.
Yeah.
So we took a metro to Ferdowsi Square, and I saw this beautiful mural on the wall with the poems. And so I asked my friends who Ferdowsi was, and he explained to me what he did to the culture, and he would translate the poems to me into, simple English so that I could understand the meaning of the poem. Um, and then friends from Tabriz sent me Farsi, no, a poet by Rumi in Farsi, and he also explained to me the meaning of this poem. It was a completely new poem to me because I've never been exposed to this particular poem, and I think one of those when I started to learn the language, then I would like to, recite the poems in Farsi. And so when I did, the Farsi version, and then when I recite the same poem in English, the two were a completely different, two completely different experience. And so I really appreciated uh, how the language sounds, the Farsi language sounds. And then it was actually because of the poems that I started to learn the everyday phrases in Farsi. So, yeah, thanks to a few of my friends who introduced me to Persian literature.
That's amazing because I think if you don't know the Persian language, you literally lose the most important pillars of poetry and Persian poetry. Because Persian poetry is not just about the meaning, it's more about the metaphoric aspects. It's very metaphoric, and r- rhyme and rhythms. So the melody, how it sounds to your ears, how you hear it. And these two, of course, the meaning are is important, but if you don't understand the metaphors, you cannot translate it to any other languages. And it's fascinating me because one of the best seller books in the United States is one of the bestseller books in the United States is Rumi's book by Coleman Barks, if I'm not mistaken. But he didn't translate Rumi's poems to English. He just reconstructed them. So if you look for the poems in Rumi's books, you cannot find any of them. Of course, I enjoy reading Coleman Barks' poems. It's beautiful. He tried to reconstruct Rumi's poem, but to me, it has nothing to do with Rumi or Maulana because he was inspired by his poems and he interpreted that in his own way. So it's like it's not a literal translation, it's not even poetic translation, it's a reconstruction. If you want to understand and read Rumi, you have to learn the language. It's almost impossible. So, so can you explain what is the difference between reading the translation when you were living in the United States and reading the poem, the Persian poem, after learning the language? Uh, what are the difference between these two experiences?
Well, this is through my understanding at just my own personal experience is because I've learned English since a very young age in Indonesia. So, and then when I went abroad, I learned it better because I speak it every day and also write papers in English. I wrote papers in English. And so I think I have a better understanding of the nuances of the language. So when I visited Iran and tried to understand or learn about the language, and then because, I could understand being a foreigner in a foreign country, and then my friend tried to explain things in English, though part of their brain probably is still translating the Farsi phrases. Um, it also happened to me when the translation becomes slightly off. Um, and then I would ask them again what they're trying to say, and um, then I started to learn, oh, okay, because the construction of the language, Farsi is different from English. It's different from Indonesian, and so you lost a little bit of the meaning within that structure. Um, what I find fascinating at the time learning Farsi poems was intonation, like how my friend would recite the poem. I would pay attention to it, and then I would look up um, Farsi poetry reading on YouTube, for instance, and I started to learn how um, the person read each of the sentences, like how they would um, make this sounds within the language. Um, that just kind of like drew me in. And I grew up in a Chinese household, and I'm quite familiar with the Chinese language also, which is a very much a tonal. So then I can associate that with listening to Farsi. And yeah, because it's a tonal language. So, you know, I guess my ears are somewhat accustomed to that. Maybe that's also part of the reason why I could learn Farsi easier because of my Chinese upbringing.
It's really interesting. So, what is the difference when you were not familiar with Farsi language, then you become familiar? What is the difference between these two experiences of reading a poem or translation of poem and reading it with the original language?
The main difference that I would feel is how the sound that I produce through my mouth actually create a different feeling inside of my
Wow,
heart. Yeah. So if I were to read the translation, then I use a lot of my brain more than because I try to, what do you call that? I try to bridge the Farsi version and the English version. Um, because the way you express it is different in English and also in Farsi. So yeah, I think that's the most striking difference that I found in learning this, in bridging these two conditions. Um, and I'm pretty sure that, if I were to find different works of literature by different poets, then I would come across a different sort of like understanding of the uniqueness of this particular poem as well.
Can you read one of your favorite poems for us?
Well, I memorized this first poem from Sadi, and I was introduced to this poem through a friend of mine in Isfahan, whose name is Vida, um, through her Instagram post, I think at the time. And the 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 short sort of like version of this poem that I remember was this. Digaran chon beravan das nazaras del beravan. Tochenan dar deleman rafte ke jan dar badan. And when I recited that, then I noticed there's similarities between the last word, badan, badani in Farsi, which means your body, and badan is also the same meaning in Indonesian. So there are,
Wow.
yeah, there are overlaps between words in Farsi and Indonesia, in Indonesian. So
That's really, really interesting.
yeah.
How did it happen?
Maybe through, international trades that our nations had long time ago. And, I haven't made any formal traces yet, but just through learning everyday phrases that I could associate some of the similarities.
Yeah, I think for me, I was looking for the poem. I searched it. I will read it for you, and you have to translate it. Then, when I moved to Turkey, it was like 7 years ago, I think 8 years ago. I started to learn Turkish from the scratch because many Iranians have Turkish roots. They are from Azeri part of Iran. It's their language. So for them, learning the Turkish from Turkey is much easier. They just need to learn the accent and the dialect. For them, it's easier than me. But for me, everything was new. Beside the words, they have thousands of Persian words in their language. So for example, they use this word, even badan, they have it. They say badan. Yeah, they have it they use it differently in different contexts, but they have more than I don't know the exact number, but it's thousands of words. So it made this phenomenon made it much easier for me to learn Turkish, and I love the Turkish language. It sounds beautifully in my ears. Also, Portuguese language. I love Portuguese language, how it sounds. Even I was learning Russian for a while, and there is a lot of similarities between Russian and Portuguese. Interestingly, Portuguese is a Latin language, but it sounds more Russian than Spanish. It sounds more Russian than even Italian. So Russian speakers, when Russian speakers move to Portugal and they want to learn the language, they are the best Portuguese speakers. They even speak Portuguese better than the Spanish speakers, which is fascinating. That's why languages are interesting for me. Even I learned Arabic. We learn it in a school, but many people don't like it in Iran, so they don't learn it. But I was fascinated by Arabic literature and Arabic language. I love it. And I kept learning it. I went to Arabic, even private classes to learn this language because I wanted to read and understand more literatures. And then right now I'm learning German, Portuguese at the same time. So
Wow.
I am really engaged with uh, different languages and I love to learn more. And I take my time because I don't have to learn it. This English is enough for me to communicate with many people But learning language for me is a kind of art, and it's a very useful tool for thinking. So when you learn a new language, you learn a new way to think
Exactly.
differently with a
Exactly.
different angle or aspect.
Yes. Exactly. And you know what? Once you learn um, a new language, then you can laugh at a lot more jokes than what you already
Exactly.
know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, it is I think it's one of those advantages in learning a new language is that you can understand more jokes. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Speaking of Arabic, you know, because I learned the abjad when learning Farsi, and there was a time when I had a nice trip to Beirut, and you know, Beirut is such a melting pot. Um, and my last night in Beirut was Christmas, the night before Christmas, and so I met a Brazilian um, person, and he was of Lebanese descent, and it was his first time, I believe, to be back in to be in Lebanon, and we're both Catholics. So on December 24th, we were thinking, okay, should we go to a midnight mass? And we decided, okay, we should go. But a lot of the churches that we visited, they posted a notification that the mass will be done in French. And so we walked around several different churches and we were trying to find a place where they had the mass in Arabic. So during the day, we were walking around and then we saw this beautiful church. It was a Maronite church. Um, so we decided, let's just come here tonight for the midnight. And we could care less if it's going to be in French or in Arabic. And so at 12 midnight, we were there. And surprisingly, the mass was in. So it was the first time you know, so immersed in the Arabic language within a Catholic, a Christian tradition. Maronite is quite close to Catholic. Um, it was so amazing that after the trip, I flew back to Indonesia on Christmas. We had similar flights. So he went to a different country. I flew to Jakarta. And throughout the plane ride, I then decided I want to learn Arabic. So yeah, I'm learning Arabic too.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that you always come with a surprise. Henry, yeah, you're amazing.
You know, people from this hotel that I met, we organized a small group and we went to the museum of Khalil Gibran in Lebanon. And so I was I tried to learn his poetry there with the original language, the Arabic version, and also the English version. Mm, yeah, so I think that also made me why I want to learn more about the language because of his works.
Yeah, true. I think I enjoy how Arabic sounds to my ears also, and the grammar is very complicated. In Iran, in a school, we learned Fasha, which is the very complicated Arabic, the standard Arabic, and it's very, very far from the language they speak in everyday life. So if you speak with that language, you're just like ridiculous. So the Arabic that I learned is Fasha, and it's difficult for them to understand it even because they never use it. And if I want to speak Arabic, I have to start from the scratch. I mean, it's not the scratch because I know so many words. I know the grammar, and I know the alphabet, everything. But it's another language. So you know what how difficult it is to switch between these two. But still, I'm very eager to learn more Arabic, and I have a lot of Arab friends here. They're amazing, especially Lebanese and Syrians. We shared a lot in culture, and they are very hospitable, very kind, very lovely. So yeah, they invite us to their home with Lebanese, Syrian foods. Yeah, any culture. I mean, right now I'm engaged with these cultures: European culture, Arab culture, and for me, even East Asian culture is very interesting. African culture, South American culture, North American culture. I think all the cultures are interesting. So we have a lifetime project to explore them and enjoy this life with this curiosity.
Mm, for sure, for sure. It is, you know, we need to enjoy our moments in this lifetime. So I think, yeah, I think one of the things why we grow closer is also we can exchange our understanding about different cultures. You also like to learn languages, different languages. You also travel to many different new places. So yeah, a lot to learn.
Yeah, let's back to the poetry. I found this the poem, the amazing poem that you read. I would like to read it, and then I will ask you to maybe to translate it. I think I need my glass to see the. من چرا دل به تو دادم که دلم می شکنی، یا چه کردم که نگه باز به من می نکنی. دل و جانم به تو مشغول و نظر در چپ و راست، تا ندانند حریفان که تو منظور منی. دیگران چون بروند از نظر از دل بروند، تو چنان در دل من رفته که جان در بدنی. It's really beautiful. And now I understand what you say, because when you read it, you feel something. It's not just about hearing that. When you read it, you feel something, you have goosebumps, and it's incredible. You cannot explain it with words. A language is inefficient to explain it.
Yeah, I think what I also find fascinating is that when you understand a new culture, new language through poetry, um, it feels like you're transported to a different universe. It's a completely different environment. It's a completely different time. And, sometimes I also wonder that when Sadi wrote this poem, like what was he experiencing at the time, at the place, um, so that this poems that you read today can still, make so much resonance with our lives. So,
Let me read the translation. I'm not sure it's, I mean, as I said, we lose a lot of pillars when we translate it to English, but yeah, at least we have a clue what he's talking about. Why did I give my heart to you when you only break it? What have I done that you will not turn your gaze to me again? My heart and soul are lost in you, yet my eyes wander left and right, so my rivals may never know that you are the one I seek. This is the part you read it, the most beautiful part. Others, once they leave the eye, leave the heart as well. But you have entered my heart as the soul enters the body. That's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful.
I love Omar Khayyam. Omar Khayyam, but say it in Persian way. And you know what? I'm familiar with Omar Khayyam, of course. We read some of his poems in school during childhood, but I think or I better say we Persians valued him. Then I started to read André Gide, the French poet. He's amazing, and he kept talking about Omar Khayyam in his poems. And then I was like, why is he talking so much about Omar Khayyam? And I started to read Omar Khayyam's poems. And then I said, now I understand why André Gide is talking a lot in his poems about Omar Khayyam, because he's just incredible. He's amazing. And I think it's very understandable. I think if you start reading his poems, because the poems are simple, very transparent, and beautiful. It sounds beautiful also. Because Rumi is complicated, he's very mystical, but Omar Khayyam is talking about joy and suffering in this moment. Forget about the 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 metaphysical ideas. He's bringing he's bringing all the joy into this on the earth, and I see a lot in common with philosophy of André Gide and Omar Khayyam.
Mm. So, what is your favorite Hayam's work?
I have a lot of them. That's it's hard to choose, and
Maybe you can share one.
I don't know even how to translate them.
Um, just maybe just read the poem and then we'll see. We'll go from there.
One is very beautiful. از آمدنم نبود گردون را سود وز رفتن من جلال و جاهش نفزود وز هیچ کسی نیز تو گوشم نشنود کین آمدن و رفتنم از بهر چه بود. It's really we call it rubai because it's 4 pieces and they're short but very meaningful.
Very impactful, I think.
Yeah, let me translate this somehow. I think. My coming brought the heavens no gain. My going added nothing to their glory, and from no one have my ears ever heard why this coming and going was meant to be. It's very nihilistic. So, but when you put his poems in near each other, you understand that this nihilism and bringing all the joys and enjoying the moment on the earth is his path of wisdom. He used a lot of uh, metaphoric words like wine as a metaphor of living in the moment and enjoying this life without metaphysical myth or narratives. I think if you start reading Omar Khayyam, you understand him better.
Mm-hmm. I have read all of his 33 poems, but the English translations, right? Because at the time I was still learning um, the language, so I try to get a sense of what he's about. I think what you mentioned about nihilism is also really good, and it's I think this from my own personal point of view is that he would have the three sentences, and then the last sentence would kind of like brings it home, like
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that's quite powerful. I wonder, did Hayam spend most of his times in Fars province, or did he live in a different area?
we call it Omar Khayyam Neishaburi. Neishabur is part of Khorasan province, very close to Mashhad. So it's, if you want to have a clue, it's very close to Afghanistan. This area.
Hmm. Okay.
But Rumi was from Balkh, and his full name is Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi. But he moved to different places, and then he ended up with Konya in Turkey. I visit him. I visit his tomb almost every year. I love the vibe of this city. It's amazing. You can see the Hiç, which is nothingness sign everywhere in Konya. He talks a lot about nothingness. It's a Sufi mysticism that when you achieve the peak of this mystical instance, you understand, you see nothing, you experience this nothingness, and you become united with the being, with the whole world.
And I also understand that this place in Konya is a pilgrimage for
Yeah,
many people, right?
many Sufis, yeah.
Okay.
And Sufi dance is a very, very interesting experience if you can watch it or even experience it. Try it. Uh, I met a I met an American gentleman in Konya once. He just realized that we were speaking English in the street and said, "Hey guys, we will be having a Sufi dance in the middle of street tonight." I was like, "Okay, let's go and see it." And he was dancing. He was like 70 years old, gentleman, American guy. I didn't have the chance to ask his story, but I was just thinking he came from the United States to Konya. He fell in love with Sufism and Rumi, and he started to dance because it's a very, very difficult practice.
Mm-hmm. The twirling dervish,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
turning around yourself for hours. That was fascinating.
Have you tried?
And no, never tried it.
Okay. Well, hopefully one of these days I can visit Konya and visit this place. Is there a particular time of the year you think that's the best to visit Konya?
Konya is very close to Cappadocia, so I usually mix this plan. I drive to Konya and then I go to Cappadocia. So it's like 3 hours driving in between. You can rent a car and go by yourself or go by bus. I prefer to go there in spring or summertime, despite that it's very busy, because Konya and Cappadocia are very cold. They are in mountain area. They're very cold, but still it's good. I think spring is very good right now. You can go right now. Yeah. Let me know if you go because I would love to see you.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Sure,
Hopefully
sure.
soon.
We s- maybe we see each other in Konya, read some Rumi poems in Rumi's tomb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Last time not last time, but the first time I was introduced to Hafiz was in Shiraz. When our friends took us to the Hafiz tomb, and I saw many people reading uh, the poems around the tomb.
And also, we read a lot of Hafiz in during the Nowruz. Many people used to do it.
It's like your forecast for the following year.
Yeah, they do it. Yeah, it's kind of forecasting by reading, opening a poem and read it.
Yeah, yeah. I was walking in Shiraz one day, and I forgot. I think I was leaving the Pink Mosque, and a, a boy, maybe at the age around 7 or 8 years old, gave me a piece of paper, and I didn't know what it was. And then he asked for money. And then when I asked my friend what the paper was, and I was told that it was a poem by Hafiz. So yeah, so I still keep the paper with me.
I think I have one too.
Oh yeah.
Still, I have it. Yeah. Last time I went Iran, it was I think 5 years ago, just to visit my family and friends. It was during the COVID, so I couldn't spend a lot of time with them. And I remember I was walking in the street in Tehran, and a gentleman gave me one of these Hafiz poems in a small paper, so I kept it. The last souvenir from Iran. So let's talk about you a little bit. We talked about Persian poetry and Farsi language, Iranian culture. Forget to talk about you and tell me what you're doing right now.
Well, at this moment, I work as an architect, and I'm um, still actively looking for projects to design to work on. And this year, on March 12th, it marks my practice, our 21st year in practice. So um, I've been practicing in this country for 21 years. Prior to that, I was living in the US for 12 years. So yeah, and then you know, I decided to launch a YouTube channel, which I did, and I posted 2 videos of me explaining um, my projects. So hopefully, it'll be a positive, a creative outlet for me as well.
Sure, I will provide a link on the show note caption. So if people are interested, they can visit your your amazing podcast or video YouTube channel.
Yes, please, please do. Um, it's um, it's a different way also for me to engage with a wider audience, right? I actively give lectures at local universities here, and I like interacting with students, architecture students, giving them insights about the profession, about certain design strategies, because I have a different educational background. So I would like to show them different ways of designing or different ways of traveling. You know, when I travel to Iran, I like to visit historical monuments, like different kinds of mosques, like the Blue Mosque in Tabriz or the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. How I, um, take photos and gather information for my next projects, or inspirations for my next projects. In Shiraz, especially, I really enjoy my visits to the Pink Mosque. And in Isfahan, I also like the main square there, Nakshi Jahan Square. Every time I go to Isfahan, I would spend time in that particular place. I like to experience different periods of architecture. So, yeah, I try to encourage them to travel as much as they can because traveling will only allow you to broaden your knowledge and horizon, which I think is crucial to become an architect.
That's amazing. Do you combine the different architectures into your designs?
Of course, but it's not, it's more sort of like maybe I would say in abstract term. Like I don't particularly look at, for instance, uh, shape of a dome in Hagia Sophia, for instance, and then
Oh, okay.
I just put a yeah, and then I put a dome in my project, not like that. But I try to understand the proportion of the space, the scale of the space, and how people comes in and out of the ritual space. And I also like to visit a lot of churches, temples, you name it. So even visiting Hafez's tomb was also an educational trip for me because it is something that I experienced firsthand in Shiraz. So I'm really looking forward to visiting Konya because then it'll be a different experience.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me know because I visited the Konya and Cappadocia many times, and I feel something about these two places, and I kept doing this. I think you will fall in love with these two cities as well. So let me know whenever, because I'm going back to Turkey on September, maybe October. Even I think that is a good time for visiting. It's not very cold because in winter these areas are full of snow, which is interesting too. If you like to see snow, you can come in winter time because Cappadocia is very beautiful in winter time too. It's all this mushroom shape and caves covered with snow. But I think it would be very cold for you. But October would be great. I would love to see you there.
Yes, celebrate our birthdays.
Yeah. Wow, you remember. Wow.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
So I've recently, I think starting about 2 years ago, I've been following a few explorers on YouTube that they talk about this ancient sites in Turkey it's called Göbekli Tepe. And I think they're finding more sites around Turkey that is ancient, right?
No, not yet. That's a pity because it's one of the oldest monuments on Earth. I mean, this is the oldest one, right?
One of the oldest, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And they found a very interesting city in near Konya. I just recently explored this Konya. Let me find it and tell you the name because it's a Çatalhöyük. That is very interesting. The name is Çatalhöyük. It's maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour to Konya. You can see the pictures. It's one of the oldest cities in the world that they explored. Also, I think in Cappadocia there are a lot of. I mean, I visited some of them. They have underground cities, which is fascinating because these Romans created underground cities like in so many floors, like sometimes 5 floors underground.
Yeah. I remember that those images online. Yeah. Okay.
and And interestingly, the exact same architecture you can find in Iran near Kashan. I'm not sure if you visited Nushabad or not. It's exactly the same, and I don't know how. Are they the same people or not?
I went to the cave dwelling not far from Tabriz. What's the name of it?
Yeah, the Kandovan, right?
Yes,
Kandovan.
Kandavan.
It's
Yes.
very similar. Yeah, it's very similar to
Hmm.
Cappadocia, Kandovan.
Mm. Yeah, I went there.
Yeah, really, I've never. Well, you explored Iran more than. Yeah, you explored Iran more than me.
I arrived in Kandavan and it started to rain. I remember it because yeah, it was a light rain. I was still able to walk around. So you'll be spending your summertime in Europe.
Yeah, most of the time I spend summertime in Portugal because it has a very mild summer. It's not too hot. Antalya is very, very hot. Sometimes it's 45 degrees and 85% humidity. It's not tolerable for me. So I rather to be in Portugal. It has a milder climate. Right now it's 25 degrees, and now we are at end of June, and it's very mild right now. It gets hotter, like 32, sometimes 35, but it's very short. And then once it starts to get colder, I move to Turkey again. So and Antalya has a very nice winter. It's very pleasant. It's not going below 5 degrees. Even most of the time is something between 10 and 15 in winter time. It has a rainy season, which is January, February, but that is okay for me. We have always sunlight in Antalya, but Portugal in winter is so dark. It's constantly raining and very cloudy. And for my Iranian standard, not having sunlight is very difficult.
Okay, I understand. Oh, you need to if you're planning to come to Indonesia, you also need to check on the weather because we have dry season and we have rainy season. It depends on where you go. Then humidity might be a problem. So if you don't like to be in the humid conditions, then you need to do your research because some areas are really humid.
Yeah, I think if I come, I want to explore more islands and more nature because I explored Bali quite a lot. I went to different parts, especially Ubud was fascinating for me, the rainforest. And also the mountain area was interesting because Ubud was hot and humid. Then you drive 1 hour or 2 hours to mountain area. I forgot the name, but so it has three main district: the beach side, Ubud, which is forest, and the mountain area, and each one of them has its own specific climate. And the temperature is changing, the humidity is changing. Mountain area was cold and um, dry. Ubud was very hot and humid, and beach was also uh, warm but not as humid as Ubud.
Yeah, yeah. Ubud can be humid in certain times for sure. Yeah, yeah. Do you remember what month?
No, I'm not sure. It was many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, so I don't remember it. But yeah, I would love to explore Indonesia and Vietnam. Both of them are very interesting for me. So I think I have to, because my biggest problem is long flights. To sit in an airplane for 10 hours, 13 hours, sometimes 15 hours. So if I go to East Asia, I want to spend at least 3 months. So I have to plan and find home exchanges because right now I just use home exchange. I don't use hotels or Airbnb, nothing, just home exchange. So literally, I'm exchanging my home with someone else. So it needs a lot of planning, but I would love to explore it. So do you have cold season, but or not? There is no cold season in Indonesia.
We we don't have cold seasons, but we have particular areas like high up in the mountains where you find the temperature could be quite chilly, like in the some mountain areas in East Java could reach like single digits at
Okay.
nighttime. Yeah. So um, really it depends because I visited that particular place 2 years ago. Um, I think it was in June or May 2 years ago, and it was really pleasant for me. For some of my friends, it could be slightly colder, but I enjoy cold weather, so cold climates.
Good. Maybe because you lived in the US for a while, so you're used to it.
Uh, well, I don't mind cold weather, but just not snow. I've had enough of snow, so not a big fan of snow.
Wow. I love snow. I'm craving for snow. Sometimes I just travel to Switzerland or Netherlands just to see snow.
This is snow.
Yeah, because Portugal doesn't have snow too. It's just one or two places you can see snow, but it's not worth it. I rather to go to uh, Northern European countries.
I see. I see. Yeah, yeah. I remember in Tehran, you recommended me to go to Tochal Mountain, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. In Tehran, there is a ski resort inside the city, and my birthplace is very close to it. I was born near Tajrish Square and raised there. And from Tajrish Square, you just drive 10 minutes to Tochal, I think. Then you take a cable car, and it takes you up to 2,000 meters to the ski resort. So it's like it's part of the village, Shemran, like we call it Shemrun. It was a village before. Now it's a big district, and this ski resort is located inside the city. So you in and it's not a very big ski resort in comparison with other ski resort in between Tehran and North, but it has a snow in many in a big period of time because of the elevation. It's on the mountain, Tochal.
Yeah, the view towards the city was really nice from the cable car.
Exactly. You've done this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 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 At the time, you recommended me to go to take the cable car, and so I did.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I checked it. It's 3,963 meters above the sea level.
Sea level. Yeah, it's really high. It's really high.
Yeah, and also Tehran is, uh, I think the village is 1,700 above the sea level.
The city, Tehran.
Yeah,
Wow. I
it's
didn't
crazy,
realize it was
right?
that high. Mm.
It's between 1,300 to 1,700 because if you go from the downtown of Tehran to the north, which is my village, you go literally from 1,300 to 1,700 elevation. It's uphill. And then you take the cable car and you go uh, 2,000 more.
Mm. Exactly. It was really high up. I remember that.
In Iran, if you go to Iran during the winter, you can not during the winter, in the beginning of spring, which is Nowruz time, Persian New Year, you can experience skiing, swimming in the Caspian Sea, and going to desert in 1 day. Can you imagine?
Really?
Yeah, I can.
Wow.
Because they're so close to each other. From Tehran to desert is just 3 hours driving. There is a ski resort inside Tehran, so it just take maximum 1 hour to go there. And also from Tehran to Caspian Sea, which is a pleasant area during spring, you can literally swim and go to forest. It's 1.5 hours driving. There is a highway right now. There is a tunnel and highway. So you can experience all of them: desert, snow, forest, and swimming in the Caspian Sea in 1 day.
Wow. Ali, I think you will love it in Lebanon, in Beirut, because that's exactly what I experienced, in one like 60 to 90 minutes. You can be from a snowy mountain to the beach in like less than 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, because I did that with this group of travelers.
I think Lebanon is one of the places I would love to see, and it's not that far, but it's one of the places that I cannot go because of the political and conflict condition. That's really unfortunate, and what's going on right now in Lebanon is devastating.
Hmm. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I hope that things are getting better as soon as possible for Lebanese people, for Iranians, and the rest of the world.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.